Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about a key neurotransmitter in our brain called GABA. It's also called gamma aminobutyric acid. That's the long word, but we're going to discuss it as GABA. And really, GABA is like the brakes on a car. So our brain without GABA will just keep hitting the gas until we all of a sudden burn out. We really need good modulation or good coordination between hitting the gas. That's going to be neurotransmitters like dopamine, like adrenaline, or what we call epinephrine, norepinephrine in the brain, along with a balance of things like serotonin and GABA. And GABA is really this key inhibitory neurotransmitter that helps calm the brain. Without GABA, we end up with an overactive brain with anxiety, insomnia, irritability, maybe anger problems, emotional outbreaks, all kinds of different symptoms that can be associated with low levels of GABA. So we're going to go into the symptoms of low GABA levels. We're going to go into the underlying root causes of this. We're also going to go into the best ways to test for it, as well as foods and supplements to support your body's ability to produce GABA and utilize it effectively. So let's jump into this. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. David Jockers. I am a natural health doctor. I speak all around the world on a number of different health topics, but my real specialty is in helping people improve their digestion, their energy, and their brain function. And of course, today's topic with this neurotransmitter GABA plays a very important role in energy and brain function, and our digestive health plays a critical role in the production of GABA. And so I speak on different online summits, and you can see my beautiful family, my wife Angel, my little boys David and Joshua here. And I'm just really passionate about helping people improve their health naturally. And so when we look at GABA, just like I was saying, it's like the brakes on a car. Its job is to help slow down the brain activity and help us relax and maintain a sense of calmness. You know, we want a calm brain that's also sharp and quick, right? It has a good memory. It's able to produce when needed, but it's calm and relaxed. And again, without this, our brain's just going to continue to hit the gas until it burns itself out. I mean, think about if we had a car with bad brakes, we're going to end up in an accident. So we're going to end up stopping ourselves by running into something and causing obviously a lot of destruction and damage to our own body. So that's what we got to think about. GABA is this brake for the car that we really need. And so here are major symptoms of low GABA: trouble relaxing or loosening up, easily agitated and frustrated. So people that have like a short fuse, we got to be thinking low GABA. Racing thoughts that keep you up at night. I can't tell you how many women, especially women, I mean, it can definitely be men too, but how many of my clients tell me this, that they just can't sleep at night because they can't turn off their brain. This is a symptom of low GABA. Sensitivity to bright lights, chemicals, or loud noises. So, I mean, I don't think any of us really like real bright lights, chemicals, or loud noises, but when you're real sensitive to them, that's a symptom of low GABA. Anxiety. Somebody tells you they have anxiety, we need to address GABA levels. If they have panic disorders, if they've had panic attacks, we need to address GABA. If their body just feels really, really stiff and tight on a regular basis, obviously it could be a number of things like hydration, magnesium deficiency, but can also be GABA. Heart palpitations and shortness of breath. Again, GABA has got to be addressed. And, you know, a lot of these things, you know, if you've listened to a lot of my my presentations, you'll know I'm a huge fan of magnesium supplementation. So using magnesium, and you'll see a lot of these things are associated with low magnesium. So you would think, okay, well, that could be a magnesium deficiency. And that's true. Magnesium, and I'll show you this later, is very important for the sensitivity of the GABA receptors. So the ability of the GABA receptors and GABA, the neurotransmitter, to interact, magnesium plays a huge role in that. So if you are deficient in magnesium, you can very well have GABA receptor insensitivity or resistance, kind of like insulin resistance, where the receptors are not sensitive and not able to bind to the GABA molecule. So that's very important to understand. Cold hands and feet, which could be a thyroid disorder, of course, could be poor circulation, but could also be associated with low GABA. Fibromyalgia, so this chronic pain condition, it's not necessarily inflammation of the joints, but it could be inflammation of different regions of the brain causing a hyperexcitability. or basically an overall what's called a centralized sensitization, meaning that in your nervous system, everything is closer to threshold. So usually we have this gradient, and a very small stimulus is not going to make an impact on. We're not going to notice it. We're not going to experience it. Whereas it takes a really good solid stimulus in order to create a reaction. With people with fibromyalgia, very small stimuli create a reaction. So they're actually very close to threshold, and that can cause a sense of pain when there's no real tissue damage. In areas of the body where there's no real tissue damage, they can just notice pain in those areas. And so again, this is associated with a low GABA level, because GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that really takes the gradient further from its further from threshold. Irritable bowel syndrome. So if we have gut problems, chances are we're going to have brain problems. And if we have brain problems, we may also have gut problems. They go hand in hand. And then in general, feeling overwhelmed. When we're under chronic stress, all of us go through periods of time where we're low in GABA. And so you're feeling overwhelmed, chances are your stress hormones are bombarding your brain because of a lot of things on your to-do list, emotional stressors, all different types of things like that. And you're not getting good GABA sensitivity to help calm the brain and put on the brakes. So this is a really key topic for all of us. We all really need to understand this, because we're all going to go through periods of time where we are low in GABA. So natural stress response is, there's a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And this is a key part of the brain because in general, our GABA is actually a very large protein, and it's not going to cross the blood-brain barrier. So if we supplement with GABA, people are told that GABA, as far as a supplement, will not cross the blood-brain barrier. But there are actually parts of the brain, like the periventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus, where things can cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's the part of the hypothalamus that actually senses. It's actually like an antenna. It's sensing its environment and saying, okay, do we have a lot of stress here, or can we relax? And if it senses stress, it's going to release a neurotransmitter or hormone called corticotropin releasing hormone to the pituitary gland, which is another part of the brain. Then the pituitary gland is going to say, okay, stress, let's release it's going to release adrenal corticotropin hormone, which senses the adrenal glands to produce stress hormone like adrenaline and cortisol and different things like that. And then those things are going to have their reaction. Cortisol is going to reduce inflammation, and it's going to break down glycogen to help boost up blood sugar. It's trying to keep blood sugar stable and trying to reduce inflammation in the body. That's basically what happens. And then when the brain, the hypothalamus, senses we have enough cortisol, it's going to slow down the release of corticotropin releasing hormone and stop the pituitary gland. And this is kind of what we call the HPA axis, or the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And when this is working well, we're able to function well. When this is out of control, or when there's poor coordination in it, then we can have a lot of problems. And so GABA is key for this sort of HPA axis regulation. So strategies to raise GABA. Okay. Number one, we've got to adapt to stress better. So this is really important. We've got to overall maintain healthy levels of stress. We need an anti-inflammatory diet. So if our blood sugar is off, it's going to throw off that HPA axis and cause a lot of problems. If we're eating foods that are damaging our gut and creating inflammation in our gut, it's going to throw off our HPA axis. We want to sleep better in general. We want to really, really focus on good, healthy sleep. Okay, that's going to be really critical with this. However, if we're low in GABA, we're going to have trouble sleeping. So we'll talk about what we need to do there. Regular exercise. So we need to be moving our body. Movement is life, and movement's going to stimulate all of our neurotransmitters and help those neurotransmitters to have good coordination, where they're able to be released at exactly the right amount at the right time. And that's really what the key is with hormones and neurotransmitters in our body. There's not really any one bad hormone or one bad neurotransmitter. It's all about the right amount at the right time. So it's really about coordinating and modulating them, which comes down to that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So very important for that. We want to improve the microbiome. So That's really key because the microbiome is going to play a role with B vitamin production. Also, on top of that, it's going to play a role with inflammation. When we have inflammation in the gut, we're going to have inflammation in the brain. When we have inflammation in the brain, it's going to throw off the communication between that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and cause bombardment of stress hormones. We want to do things like taking Epsom salt baths with essential oils, which can be very, very relaxing. And we'll talk about some of the best essential oils for producing GABA. Epsom salt is very, very high in magnesium and sulfates, which are going to be really good for GABA production. Also, deep breathing. It's going to really, really help our body by teaching us that we're in a relaxed state. And we can heal, we can rest, we can heal, we can stimulate GABA, we can downregulate stress hormones, and we can, we're in a place where we can heal and regenerate. You know, basically we're gonna have two default modes. We're going to be in fight or flight, or we're gonna be in a state of rest, heal, and regenerate. And so we do need a fight or flight response if we're doing a presentation, if we're exercising, if we're working really hard. However, for the majority of the time, that should be a small amount of time. The majority of the time, we want to be in a state of rest, healing, and regeneration. Deep breathing really helps teach our body to do that. So very important. Okay, so brain-gut connection. So we know that the gut and the brain are constantly communicating. The gut is actually where 95% of the neurotransmitters are produced. It produces vast majority of the serotonin in the body is produced in the gut. The gut also helps to break down proteins to produce amino acids, which are the backbone for these neurotransmitters. Like in the case of GABA, we're thinking about glutamine or glutamate, okay, which glutamate itself is an excitatory neurotransmitter, but it's really an amino acid, okay? And then glutamate will convert into GABA, which is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. We'll talk about that connection there. But if we have inflammation, damage in our gut, if we have dysbiosis or a bad bacterial balance, we're going to have problems in our brain. So it's going to affect the brain, whether it's damaging memory centers, leading to early dementia or possibly Alzheimer's disease, or whether it's causing issues with mood disorders like anxiety and depression, where we know these are conditions where there's inflammation in the brain, and that inflammation is messing up the communication process of the neurotransmitters and their receptors. And so that's really important to understand. We got to have a good, healthy gut for a healthy brain. So what kind of diet do we want for a healthy gut? I recommend a low carbohydrate, high fat, nutrient dense diet where we have lots of good fats like grass-fed butter, olives, olive oil, avocados, coconut oil, coconut butter, pasture-raised eggs, all really good sources. Also lots of antioxidants. So herbs like basil, oregano, thyme, parsley, what else? Ginger, turmeric. These things are all very anti-inflammatory, very good for the gut and good for the brain. Also non-starchy vegetables. So dark green leafy vegetables, cruciferous veggies, they have loads of antioxidants in them, chlorophyll, trace minerals, as well as healthy fiber. We want low glycemic fruit like lemons and limes, small amounts of berries, which are rich in antioxidants, low in sugar. So these kind of foods are going to really support the brain. Healthy protein. We don't want a tremendous amount, but we do want enough. So wild game, whether it's bison or antelope or lamb, duck, wild-caught salmon, pasture-raised poultry, grass-fed beef, these things are all awesome for the body. Fiber, so nuts and seeds, but again, not in high proportion. Why? Because these things can be tough on the gut. So I recommend I have them higher on the food pyramid there. So we're having them more in moderation. Fermented foods like kimchi, pickles, sauerkraut, coconut milk yogurt, coconut water keeper. These things can all be really good. And natural sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit. Those are my favorite too. And then after that, you're looking at maybe small amounts of raw honey, gravy maple syrup, something like that. And you want to tighter your carbohydrate levels. So some people can handle a little bit more than others. Some people need a little bit more than others. Okay. Other people need very low carb diet, a low carb program where they're, in a state of mild ketosis. So in general, you want lower carbohydrate. I'm always going to lean towards that. For some people, that's going to be like 20 to 30 grams of net carbs, total carbs minus fiber. Other people, it's going to be like 50 to 80 grams of net carbs. So you got to kind of tighter your levels and see how you feel best, what you feel best with. And you could also try doing a kind of a diet variation where you do, let's say 5 or 6 days of very low carb, and then 1 day a week where you do higher carb, where you might do 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates, you might have a few sweet potatoes or something like that, which can really help teach your body that you're not in a state of famine. Okay, so you get the benefits of being on its low carb, anti-inflammatory, mild ketogenic state, but then also you cycle out and you take in the carbs, which helps activate your thyroid, fills your muscle cells and liver cells with glycogen, and teaches your body, hey, I'm not in a state of famine. Food is abundant. Okay. And then you go back to kind of more of a intermittent fasting ketogenic style diet the other 6 days of the week. So this can be a great strategy for you. And so you can see some of the great recipes we have on our website, drjockers.com. Blueberry gut healing smoothie. We've also got this is a coconut cookie right here with coconut whipped cream. So that looks awesome and it tastes amazing. For GABA levels, one of the best foods is fermented foods. Fermented foods are one of the best things for healthy levels of GABA. Why? Because they have prebiotics, probiotics that are in them because of the natural fermentation. They also have organic acids, which really helps support a healthy gut microbiome. And when it comes to GABA production, we need really healthy levels of lactobacillus bacteria as well as bifidobacterium. Lactobacillus are one of the predominant species in our small intestine, whereas bifidobacterium are in the large intestine. Both of them are really important for production of vitamin B6, which you'll see in a second is super key for GABA. Also, this is going to help with protein digestion, and we need amino acids in order to produce this inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA. So very, very important. So I recommend kind of getting a blend of these things, doing kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented ginger is good. Pickles are really, really good. I'm a fan of coconut water keeper, where it's coconut water that's fermented, which is a great source of potassium, B vitamins, enzymes. So all just really, really good stuff. So we definitely want to consume these fermented foods and drinks. And then when we look at how GABA is produced, you can see over on the far left here, we've got glutamine. Okay, and you can supplement with glutamine. You can also consume it in your diet. Now, there's an enzyme called glutamine synthetase. Okay, glutamine synthetase comes in and it converts glutamine to glutamate. Okay, now glutamate in the brain is an excitatory neurotransmitter. We need it. It's extremely important for activity in the brain. We wouldn't be able to think or carry out or have a memory without glutamate. We need it. Okay, however, if glutamate is not, if part of a certain percentage of glutamate is not converted to GABA, then we'll get overexcitation in the brain, because glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. Also, if we have inflammation will actually block this key enzyme called glutamate decarboxylase, which helps convert glutamate into GABA. So very important. So chronic inflammation in the brain is going to cause overexcitation in the brain. So we got to shut down inflammation. There's a lot of powerful antioxidants that can do that. Things like acetylated glutathione. We have one called superglutathione, curcumin, green tea extracts can be really good, quercetin, bioflavonoids like rutin can all be really good. Vitamin C can be really good. So all those things can help reduce inflammation in the brain in general. Fish oils as well. I didn't say that, but fish oils are awesome. And then also magnesium, and we're going to talk more about magnesium, but it's also good for keeping inflammation under control in the brain. So glutamate should convert into GABA, and we should get a certain percentage. And so that way we have balance. And the body knows best. If we keep inflammation under control and we provide the nutrients we need, the body's going to know how much glutamate and how much GABA we need to have good, calm brain activity. So you can see the key nutrients. Vitamin B6 and magnesium are key for that conversion of glutamate to GABA with the enzyme glutamate decarboxylase. Now, a lot of people in our society are magnesium deficient. So if they're magnesium deficient, we're not going to be able to get this conversion. You know, I do a test called an organic acid test, which I'll show you in a second. And I see a lot of people with vitamin B6 deficiencies as well. These are two of the most common deficiencies, B6 and magnesium. So very important. Now, a lot of people will think, okay, I can't supplement with L-glutamine, because if I supplement with L-glutamine, I will create too much glutamate and damage my brain. And that's not actually true. It can be true if we don't have enough B6 and magnesium. So when I do L-glutamine supplementation, I also make sure that person is also taking B6 and magnesium. Glutamine supplementation is very important for healing leaky gut, which will turn off the inflammation. So we need the glutamine to turn off the inflammation to heal leaky gut, but we also need the B6 and magnesium to help blunt the stress hormone production in the brain and help produce GABA. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. One other really key one is zinc, which I also see a lot of deficiencies in. A lot of people are high in copper, low in zinc, and copper and zinc are antagonists. They compete. So I'll usually do some level of zinc supplementation because most people are high in copper, low in zinc for a number of reasons. Blood sugar imbalances deplete our zinc levels. Stress depletes our zinc levels. Zinc is key for activating P5P, which is the activated form of B6. So it helps to turn over B6 into this active form of B6. On top of that, it also helps to basically create good GABA receptor activity. So just kind of like magnesium does, zinc is also important for good GABA receptor activity, sensitivity of the GABA receptors. So very important there. Also, another amino acid called taurine is very important for the overall productivity of P5P, or that activated form of B6. So we need taurine as well. So we need good stomach acid production and digestion in general, so we can get and produce these amino acids, glutamine and taurine, for GABA production. So very key. And you can see these different activities and what can actually block this process. So chronic stress. So if we have high levels of cortisol, for example, it will blunt the ability to produce GABA. If we have a glutamate decarboxylase antibody, GAD antibody, which people do, especially people with like epilepsy and chronic anxiety disorders, oftentimes they have a antibody to this enzyme that converts glutamate to GABA. So again, we got to address the gut there, because antibodies and autoimmune activity is associated with leaky gut. We also need to look at things that modulate the immune system, like glutathione, our body's master antioxidant, vitamin D, fish oils to help calm down antibody production and overall inflammation. Also, infections can cause basically can inhibit the glutamate decarboxylase enzyme. So if we have H. pylori infections or Klebsiella or whatever it is, chronic bacterial infection, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, yeast infections can all block this process. So these are the things that we really need to address in order to get good brain activity here, good neurotransmitter activity. So hope this makes sense for you guys. There's a lot that goes into it, but as far as nutrients, we got to be thinking, okay, we need glutamine to help heal the gut and also to help produce GABA. We need taurine with this process as well, which we're going to get from our diet. We need B6, or really like an activated B6, P5P is usually what I'll supplement people with. And I'll show you the supplement we use. Magnesium, we need a lot of magnesium. The good thing is magnesium is to the body what oil is to the car. Like, we're going to constantly be using magnesium. And the way that you know you're getting too much magnesium is you'll either have diarrhea, or you may have leg cramps when you didn't before have leg cramps. So those would be probably the two big things to look out for. Possibly too low of blood pressure. So you might notice your blood pressure drop way too low. If you're taking high doses of magnesium, that would be an issue. In general, if you are not supplementing with high doses of magnesium and you have low blood pressure, you'd want to try magnesium because it can help stabilize your blood pressure because of its effect on the HPA axis. Okay, and then also zinc. Zinc is really key for this process too. Okay, how do we test for this? Well, I look at this organic acid test, and this is one page out of I think it's like a 6-page report. But if you look down low, it says neurotransmitter metabolites, and we've got a metabolite, which are basically these are byproducts. So these are biomarkers that are broken down in the body's metabolism, and we urinate them out. And we should urinate them out in certain kind of normal quantities. When we have high or low quantities, it can indicate different issues. Okay, so we look at homovanillic acid, which is a breakdown product of dopamine. We look at vanillyl-mandelic acid, VMA, which is a breakdown product of norepinephrine, epinephrine. If I see HVA and VMA really high, it's a sign that we don't really have much of a break that we are over-excitatory. We have too much excitatory activity in the brain, not a good enough break on the brain. So that's one thing that I look at for GABA, is to just basically look at that. Now, I like this organic acid test because I get to look at so many different things like mitochondrial markers, which you can see there. So I can look at, hey, coenzyme Q10, carnitine, different things like that that are needed for the mitochondria. I can look at oxalates, bacterial overgrowth, yeast overgrowth, what type of bacteria like C. diff or Clostridia species. We can look at mold, exposure to mold. We can look at B vitamins. In fact, this next slide I'm going to show you here, B6 levels. You can see we can look right at B6 and we can see what's going on with that. Vitamin C, a bunch of different nutrients, folate, B12, biotin, vitamin or CoQ10. So we can look at all this stuff and really see what this person needs as far as nutrient potential. And that's why I love looking at a test like this. It gives us so much valuable information. So if I see somebody real low in B6, also very high VMA or HVA, then I'm thinking low GABA. Also, if they have very low levels of those neurotransmitters, they may have a GABA issue too, because they may just have overall HPA axis dysfunction. So I take that into consideration along with their symptoms, and that lets me know more about what's happening with their GABA status. Okay, supplements to raise GABA. Magnesium, I've been talking about that. B complex, we need that B6, that pre-activated B6. And in general, B complex, I mean, it's just good to take B vitamins somewhat together, okay? It can be really helpful. Sometimes we need more of one than another. So there are certain supplements that may target one more than another. But in general, we want to kind of get a complex of Bs. Dark green leafy vegetables can help with that. Good protein digestion, so eating healthy meat, but also breaking it down well because we have good stomach acid can really help with that. Getting those B vitamins in. Probiotics, because we need that bifidobacterium and lactobacillus in order to produce activated B6. GABA supplementation itself, especially if somebody has leaky gut. People who have leaky gut typically respond very well to GABA supplement, actually doing a full GABA. We say leaky gut equals leaky brain. So in general, GABA is a very large protein, and there's only really one major area of the brain that it's going to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier on a normal, healthy blood-brain barrier. And that would be that periventricular nucleus and hypothalamus, kind of the antenna area. However, in general, I mean, even that can have a good impact on reducing anxiety, irritability. So people will notice good changes just from it impacting the periventricular, the periventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus. However, if the gut is damaged, the blood-brain barrier is going to be a lot more permeable. So supplementing with GABA can get into the overall brain circulation and start to calm down the overexcitation, can kind of provide an alternative break, right? So your body's not producing enough, but you can supplement with it to help calm the brain. Taurine supplementation, L-glutamine, right? Really key for helping heal the gut. And also it's a precursor for helping produce GABA, so it can be real helpful. So I don't recommend taking L-glutamine. Typically, if you have anxiety or irritability or any of those symptoms of low GABA, I wouldn't take L-glutamine without also supplementing with an activated B6 and magnesium. So that's key. I would recommend adding those into your regimen as well. And the combination of those can be amazing, can be life-changing. So look out for that. L-theanine, which is something you can find in tea. Green tea actually has L-theanine in it. And we'll use supplemental L-theanine. It can be really helpful. Also, you can use different essential oils and herbal teas, okay, like chamomile, lavender, lemon balm, passion flower. So a lot of times when people have overexcitation in their brain, they're struggling with insomnia and anxiety and those different symptoms we listed before. I'll have them diffuse chamomile or lemon balm essential oil, lavender essential oil in their home. Okay, especially in the afternoons, evenings when they want to relax a little bit more. I'll have them drink nighty-night tea. Right? There's nighty-night with passion flower and chamomile in it. There's teas with valerian root, kava can be really calming. So we want to be drinking these herbs. We also want to be utilizing essential oils with them. We could also be taking them in supplement form, and that will really help the body to produce its own level of GABA. So those can be really helpful. So a good takeaway, like if you want to start with something, I would definitely recommend magnesium as your first go-to. Obviously, you can do herbal teas, which are easy, simple things. Probiotics are great, but I would say magnesium above everything. I would definitely do magnesium because of its just overall, I mean, it plays a key role in over 300 functions in the body. So, I mean, everybody does well supplementing with magnesium. The only people I take magnesium off of magnesium supplements are people that are struggling with chronic diarrhea, just because magnesium can have a little bit of a diuretic effect. Other than that, I'll put people on magnesium and see really good results with it. So the kind of magnesium that I am a huge fan of is called Brain Calm Magnesium. It's a magnesium L-threonate form that crosses the blood-brain barrier, helps establish the proper calcium-magnesium balance within every cell. Very important for modulating stress hormone production in the brain. We talked about its ability to activate the GABA receptor and also to help convert glutamate, the excitatory neurotransmitter, into glutamine, or I'm sorry, into GABA, to help calm and relax the brain. So Brain Calm Magnesium, amazing stuff. Really good for memory and mental focus throughout the day. Really good for calmness, relaxation at night, and good healthy sleep. So start with that, Brain Calm Magnesium. Start with like 1 scoop twice a day in water. It's a little fruit punch flavor flavored with stevia. The coloring is an anthocyanin antioxidant, the same antioxidant that gives blueberries their blue color. So all healthy ingredients, put that in water. You'll like the taste, and it will really, really good for calming your body. Also will help to stimulate bowel movements if you are constipated or want to be more regular, which again is good for your microbiome and the right bacterial balance. So that's key. The next step would be Mood Protect. And this is something I'll use for people that do have the anxiety disorders, irritability, a lot of the symptoms we talked about. This has supplemental GABA in it. It also has 5-HTP to help balance out GABA with serotonin levels. It also has L-theanine, which we talked about in there. It has activated B6. The P5P is in this as well. It also has a little bit of magnesium, a different form of magnesium. It has vitamin C in there. So all these key compounds that are critical for, has taurine in there, real critical for GABA synthesis and GABA utilization in the brain. So really, really good supplement right here, Mood Protect. So I'll typically tell people to start out with maybe taking 2 caps at night before you go to bed, like especially if you're having trouble sleeping or winding down, or you're noticing that your brain just won't shut off. Try taking 2 capsules of this along with the magnesium and see what you notice. I've never had anybody really respond negatively to it. If you do take too much, you just might feel like brain fog, or just trouble waking up in the morning. Possibly that can be an issue because you have too much inhibitory neurotransmitters. So starting out with like 2 caps, that should be just fine. If you're noticing kind of overexcitation and just like irritability in the afternoon at a given time, obviously make sure your food is good throughout the day. You're keeping your blood sugar stable, but then also you could try taking one of these Mood Protects or a scoop of magnesium in water and see how that works. And I've seen a lot of clients get a lot of improvement with that. So that's the Mood Protect right there. And last but not least, if you're interested in going deeper into the brain, really understanding the best strategies for taking care of your brain, I do have an online program for that. It's full of e-guides, including a neurotransmitter questionnaire where you're actually able to see which neurotransmitters you want to focus on in the immediate. We also have a super brain training guide, which gives you action steps to boost the production and utilization of each one of those neurotransmitters. We have video instructions, recipe guides, everything you can imagine to help improve the function of your brain. And you can find that on my website, drjockers.com. It is the Super Brain Program. So check that out if you're interested in taking this to the next level. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this training. I know I've been enjoying making these trainings for you guys. And if you did enjoy it, go ahead and leave a comment below. Just, would love to hear any encouragement, praise, or any questions that you guys have. God bless you, and we will see you on a future training. Bye-bye now.